This episode contains strong language and adult themes from the start. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
Fucking light, right? I've changed position, I've sorted myself out. Fuck off, there's no more light because it'll shine off me.
Can I have a translation, please?
You said fuck off.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 22 Dropouts. I'm not going to say all the shit that Mike says in the preamble because if you didn't know all of it, you wouldn't be here, would you? So there we go. We are a YouTube show, of course, but you know that because you're watching it on YouTube. Who'd have guessed? Who'd have guessed? Anyway, joining me today on my 22, we have all the way from sunny Scotland, it's James. How you doing, mate?
Good evening.
Lovely. Very enthusiastic. Thanks very much. Opposite end of the country, we've got Tom down in Kent. How are we doing, buddy?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. All good here.
He's got no beer. We're very disappointed in him. Very disappointed. Non-essential shops have, of course, opened again today. So there is literally no excuse for him to not have any beer. We're going to go European now to Mr. Ramage.
We're going out the window then, because that's the way you looked.
all the way over to Europe to Mr. Ramage in Malta. How are we doing, mate?
How you doing? Good, eh? How's it going?
Yeah, Mike, I can't understand him now either.
It's going.
Chris, I thought you did wonderfully.
Thank you very
well
much.
done. There's a career for you in broadcast media, but only in a really, really small demographic. But no, Chris is absolutely right. We are a YouTube show and a podcast, and you can get us wherever you get us. We hope you enjoy it. We hope you like it. We hope you'll join us every week. And if you haven't joined us before, then make sure, please, that you do come and join us and that you do follow us on our social media sites. WhatsApp. No, not WhatsApp. That's not a social media at all. That's where we chat about shit. Join us on our Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook because, of course, we all keep that up to date, don't we, boys? And make sure you go and like and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. And also, I'm not snipping that out, Sam. I know you're doing this across the screen, but I ain't snipping that out. I might snip this bit out now because now it's gone on a bit too long, but the joke was fairly good. Anyway, Sam.
Yeah.
Sam, talk to us about your recent exposure to the Clippers.
Okay. It was a Facebook poll a few weeks back that I put up on FB, as it's, rightly known.
With the kids.
Because the teenagers can't type Facebook, so they put FB. Go figure, right? So anywho, FB, Facebook poll, love heart if you wanted to stay, smiley laughing face if you wanted to go, if you wanted to go. Basically it was neck and neck, right down the wire, right to the end, and some little bugger put the last love heart in and they one by one, which means I needed to shave the bottom part off. And me being a sort of, kind of a helpful chappy, as they say, said, let me raise some money for the Malta Rugby Referees Association here. And said, if we raise $250, then I'll shave all my head off and all. And well, we didn't quite reach that much on the money front. We've raised 160 so far, so I'm well chuffed with that. And basically went to the hairdresser and got a wee pin. Well, it wasn't even a hairdresser. It's a man's, what do they call a man's salon? What do they call that?
Barber shop.
Barber, that's the one, a proper barber. They can cut throat razor and all the rest of it.
Well, actually, Sam, I thought you did really well. And we've got some photos that we're going to put up.
You never asked permission.
Sam, I have found a look-alike.
Oh. Can I have Jason Statham instead? Because Jason Statham is like a bit more kind of looks like.
That's why he's not Jason Statham.
Yeah, that's why you got Antonio. There are so many options for Sam's nickname, from Violet to Waterworks, that I think we now maybe have to include Antonio as well.
Oh, hold on. So instead of Antonio, you try to say I'm Puss in Boots.
He's just made his own new nickname.
Chris is
YouTube.
like, what the F6 is Puss in Boots?
Chris doesn't get it. Explain.
Nah. Have you ever heard of a film called Shrek?
I have, mate. I just don't get Puss in Boots.
It's the cat.
I know it's the cat.
in Shrek.
I don't get what. I don't see
Banderas
what's
played
funny
it.
about it.
Banderas played it.
Guy.
But did he? Oh, right, okay.
Oh my God! You complete another.
I don't.
Look, we're a live, we're a recorded YouTube show, and we're not supposed to fucking swear, but you are a tit. To be fair, I'll take that back. James is absolutely right. A tit is a useful thing.
Tom disagrees.
Anyway,
How's it
moving
going?
on, I thought tonight it would be worthwhile just to reminisce a little bit about our lockdown stories, because for some of us, sorry James, not Scotland, because a little widow twanky, some of us, lockdown is
Isn't it Jimmy
sort of
Cranky, not fucking Widow Twanky?
No,
Very confused.
think of the Cockney
I mean,
rhyming
she is a
slang,
Widow
mate.
Twanky, to be fair. Yeah, all right, moving on.
Correct.
Moving
Yeah,
on.
thanks, mate. Thanks.
Ignore me. You do
It's
anyway.
hard when you have to explain the jokes to your son. But James is still stuck, aren't you, James, in Scottish land?
Yes, we're stuck in Scotland. We are stuck. We are not allowed out anywhere.
How's it going, Claire?
And not allowed over the border either.
No, we're not allowed. We're not allowed out of county. We're not allowed out of town. We're 5 miles. That's it.
My belief and understanding is that there is police actually at the borders, like at the Carter Bar.
Yeah, there is.
On the A68, right?
And
We're
M74.
stopping the English from coming in. Yes.
That's
Yeah,
exactly.
Can
I
we just
heard
rebuild
that too.
Hadrian's
Well-
Wall and have it done with?
Can I just say, is there any Englishmen that want to actually go into Scotland?
Exactly.
Oh,
Is it the police just sitting there going, oh, there's no one coming in, there's no one actually bothering?
You'd be surprised how many English folk come up through to Scotland, Paul. Honestly, they're settling in Scotland because it's cheaper to live. Where you actually get decent.
Apart from the tax, apart from the extra tax we have to pay now.
Well,
Yeah,
fair enough.
you've got it easy over there, Samuel. Anyway, Sam.
Yes.
Sam.
Yes.
Lockdown, clearly, because we've shown the before and after photos of Puss in Boots, clearly now, lockdown is a little bit easier for you because you've had it really tough. And I'm not taking the mickey here. You have had quite a tough time of it.
Can we just shorten his nickname to Pussy? Puss in Boots is too much of a mouthful.
Oh, no, you
No,
can't.
that's your nickname, Chris.
No, you
No.
can't.
No.
That's just no. You can't do that. Can't.
Right. So, Sam, you know, we're trying to make a show here. Sam,
Yes, dear.
what's it feel like to actually be able to get out properly and do the things that perhaps you wanted to do?
Well, it's been a lot of catching up on stuff that, personal stuff that I've had to do by going to certain establishments and legal establishments. Chris, before you say anything, Tom, not that kind, so you're okay. So
Does that mean you're allowed back in that pub?
No.
No.
I've actually just found that, I've actually just found that out. I'm still banned for life. Can you believe it? Anywho.
Oh, no, you didn't even start the fight.
I know, and I was the one that got the sponsor as well. Yeah, basically, I mean, things have really kind of opened up. It's good to be able to get back out again, but I'm being very, very careful. Wherever I go, I'm staying away from folk. Because nobody likes me really. They've just announced that they're going to open the airport and ports as of the 1st of July, and come the 15th of July, to all destinations are open again.
We've all had our cross to bear during lockdown, usually at the will and behest of somebody else in our household. What have you been doing during lockdown, DIY-wise?
DIY-wise, well, so I've got a classic Mini, right, which I love my Minis, proper Italian job, none of your BMW kind of nonsense and all the rest of it. So basically, I've had that off the road and in the garage for the last 2 years. During the lockdown, I decided, well, why pay somebody, the X amount of hundreds and hundreds of pounds to take it down to metal when I can do it myself? So basically, I spent the whole of May, 2 or 3 hours a day, so mounted up probably to about 70 hours the whole month in May, scraped it all down to bare metal, mate, the whole thing.
Chris, I hate to ask whether you've had a DIY fail, because that would mean you actually did something during lockdown.
I haven't had a DIY fail during lockdown. You know me,
Oh,
Mark.
did you ask for a fail?
Sit in my room all day on my Xbox most of the time, with the occasional workout thrown in here and there.
What kind of workout is that?
Lifting the beer up to my mouth and then putting it back down again.
Did you have spillage?
I didn't, mate. No.
No, he didn't have spillage, but he did have Lambrini.
Did you just have...
I haven't drunk any more of it since last time. I do have a rather old DIY fail, and it involves Michael to a certain extent. So I was about 3 or 4 years old, and we're on a building site. So I've come in with my dad. I've got my little hard hat on. I got my high vis on and my little rubber mallet, thinking I'm bloody Bob the Builder, aren't I? And I walk into this room, and my dad's like, "Right, you need to knock down that wall there." I was like, "Yeah, I can do that. No worries." It wasn't a wall. I start knocking down this thing, happy as Larry. I'm proper going for it. And then someone turns to me and goes, "Mike, why is your son knocking down the wall we've literally just plastered?"
No.
Yeah. I said, just hit that, because it kept him busy just bashing shit. And he turned 90 degrees to the right and bashed the wrong shit. We had to rebuild the wall. Tom, you must have had a DIY failure.
Yeah, I mean, so you try and do up the house and stuff, do some nicer bits around, and we've painted the hallway, painted the stairs. Obviously, stairs is a bit of a bugger as well, because you've got to get your extending pole for your paintbrush.
Hey! Goes the extending pole out.
Finish it all off. Everything's done. Looks really good. Mum comes in. Don't like the colour. Bearing in mind, she's already seen what the hallway looks like already. She was happy with that, but doesn't like the colour of the stairs.
James, you must have had a DIY fail.
I've had millions of DIY fails. I'm dyspraxic. I knock everything over. I can. During lockdown, I have made a cricket scoreboard, which we can't use because we can't go and play cricket because we're not allowed. But anyway, I'm skipper of the club. I'm fed up of. I've got really piss poor eyes. Fed up of a little tiny scoreboard.
Is that why you wear a shirt sponsored by Specsavers, mate?
No.
You wear that not because you remember the SRU, but because you can't see jack shit.
Both. Both. I've got the black bit done. Everything there. Start painting the lettering. So you have wickets, you have total, you have last score, batsman, etc., etc. And when it had all dried, realised I'd put tootle, not total.
Oh, hey, excellent, mate. I love that. Right, listen, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back with our guest, and we're going to ask him what he's been doing with DIY in the lockdown. We'll be back right after this. And here he is. Look at that.
Look at that for timing.
Oh, we're getting good at this shit, aren't we?
No, we're not.
Welcome back to part 2 of the 22 Dropouts. We are, of course, as Chris keeps pointing out, a YouTube show, and sometimes when he uploads it to Spotify and Acast, we are a podcast as well. Nobody can see you sticking your V's up, Chris, because they're just looking at me at the moment, but I can see you up there. Anyway, listen, we've been talking about DIY fails and the fact that we've been trying very, very hard as men during lockdown and not succeeding terribly well. A bit like Chris trying to drink Lambrini, really. But it is my absolute pleasure this week to welcome a chap. He's got 38 caps for his country. He scored 3 tries during that time. He is the one, the only, the man, the legend. He is Johnny Beattie. How are you doing, Johnny?
Very well. Nice to be here, boys. Nice to meet you all too.
What do you drink? That looks like a really nice brew. What have you got? Well,
it's called... I'm going to get you a can as well because the can's proper nice looking. So it's called Basque beer. So I live out in Basque Country, just outside Brits. So Basque Country starts about Bilbao in southern Spain and finishes just above Biarritz where I live. So this is Basque beer. Glasses from Fabric, which is my local craft beer shop. So supporting my local man during the times of hardship and COVID. So he's had a decent bit of business during lockdown. And yeah, that's my tipple for tonight in the past few days.
Well, Johnny, cheers to you.
Cheers.
Cheers to the Basque region. And I have far too many stories of going to Biarritz with Wasps that I would care to mention on a podcast, unless Trevor Leota accepts our invitation and comes on and talks about them personally.
He will. He's a good man.
What goes to Biarritz stays in Biarritz, but I absolutely love being over.
I mean, I went when I was 4. I don't remember much of it, and certainly don't remember those stories. I was probably asleep in the hotel, wasn't I?
Before we go into what you've been doing, because I know your DIY exploits have been rather much better than ours. And when we first started chatting, you said, wife was making you do a bit of DIY. I never thought you would be doing what you've been doing. I thought you'd be just like painting the banister of the stairs. Now, 38 test caps, 3 tries for Scotland. Why no drop goals? Now, I don't know whether he's frozen or whether he's just pissed off at me for asking the question.
he's gone, fuck off, I'm not answering these shit questions. He's like,
hold on, boys, are we still there? Are we still there?
Hey!
Your black screen? Yeah, there he goes. There he is.
I'm back.
Hey, mate, you have just done the funniest thing on TV ever. And you'll only know it when you watch this back.
What's happened? Have you got halfway through the question? Looks like I've ditched and run.
Yeah. He's done it again.
What's happening, lads?
Johnny, are you sure you're not James Haskell in disguise? He has shit internet as well.
Probably. Right. Am I going to go? I'll go and change rooms, lads. Do you want to start again? I'll go and change rooms.
No, we're keeping this shit in. It's much more fun.
Oh, he's completely he's taking the piss now. He's went outside. Oh. He's stealing public. No. That's what he's doing now.
It's just green screen, boys. Just keep telling yourself it's green screen and don't feel that bad.
You know, we planned such a really good show with Johnny Beattie.
We were just saying that you've left the house and you're actually stealing public Wi-Fi now.
That's right. I'm on BT Biarritz. This is me O2. Ready.
Nice plug, mate. Nice plug. Well, whilst you have a quick sip of your local brew, we're just going to carry on. I'm going to ask you the same question again because it was quite funny with your reaction the first time round. So I'm hoping the second time round it's going to be equally as funny. So,
you want me to leave again?
Scotland?
No.
Yeah, you can leave again. If you left again, that would be really funny. So my question was, a good introduction this, 38 caps for Scotland, 3 tries for your country. Why no drop goals?
Mate, you're asking me. Not a scoob. Not a scoob.
Did you never try one?
He's not as ballsy as George Cruz, that's all it is.
I'll give you his address, Johnny. You can come and fill him in when lockdown's
over. No, never tried one. I kicked from hand loads. Place kicked as well for Glasgow Warriors. Took a couple for Bayonne as well, but never a drop goal. Sadly,
now, when you say you
took a couple for Bayonne, but still got 0 points.
In pre-seasons, I think it's 0 points for Bayonne.
That's what Wikipedia says, mate.
Needs updating.
Hey, listen, I think there's a few of us on here who've taken the couple for the team as well, but I don't know whether we've scored. But that's a different story. Johnny, how has lockdown been treating you in France?
Honestly, mate, it could have been a lot worse. We're really lucky. We've got a little house that backs onto a forest. We live about 5 minutes from the beach. The only real struggle was, it's a good and a bad. My missus is now pregnant with our third, which is good news.
Hey, congratulations, buddy.
Which is great. So, cheers.
I know you've not done much, but well done.
No, it didn't last long. It wasn't much effort on my part. The downside was that meant that she got struck by morning sickness, which meant that it was me and the other 2 kids for pretty much 8 weeks. So it's been isolating as it has been for everybody, but it's been great to get some time with the kids. Not being away playing rugby at weekends, got that time back. So it's been great to spend time with them and just kick about the house, like kick a football around, which I never got to do. Roll around and wrestle, not be sore after a game with the kids and just have a laugh. So it's been great. I look at mates that are back in flats playing in Paris or in London or back in Glasgow. And it's a tough gig, so we can't complain. We're really lucky where we are. It's been good fun, actually.
What's all this football shit? Okay, listen, I know your sister plays for Arsenal, and I know you play for Glasgow, but
Rangers
ain't allowed here, son.
Yes, but the thing is, so my son is already an aggressive little shit. So I'm trying to hold.
I wish my son would have been at that age.
Hold him back. He was 4. He was 4 yesterday. He's already more aggressive than Chris.
What's his name?
He's Lockie. Is his name?
Lockie.
Yeah. So that's it. I can tell he's already a physical little lad. So I'm trying to hold him back, and then age 6, 7, when rugby starts here properly, I'm just going to let him go and let him cause carnage. For the minute, a bit of football chaos in the back garden. And then he just loves wrestling. He wants to wrestle and fight the whole time. So he's already got it down. I'm not worried about him from a rugby perspective. He'll be all right.
Well, for all our millions of viewers and listeners, and the other 5 people that are joining you on this very lonely show tonight, I think we should all say happy 4th birthday to Lockie. Happy birthday, man!
Happy birthday, Lockie.
Yeah. Your dad will record this and show it on your wedding day.
What you should do. Yeah, what you should do, Johnny, is get a big teddy bear. I mean, really big teddy bear. Put a rugby kit on it, and tell him it's a tackle teddy, and teach him how to tackle.
He's got a sister for that, mate. He'd be all right.
Now, is his sister older or younger though?
Nah, she's 2, but turn her up.
Fair enough. It won't be long before she's tackling him and killing him. Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
So, what made you change from football, an illustrious or potentially illustrious football career, into rugby?
Change of school, if I'm honest. So I, as a youngster, I played in primary school the whole way through with my local school. I was captain of the Glasgow primary school team, and we'd go and play against teams in England and get on the bus and come down and lose down there. And then I played a little bit of football with Rangers, sort of youth stuff. Didn't get to actual games, just in the training group. And around that time, I changed school. And my secondary school, so when I was 12, was predominantly rugby. And that was it. So my weekends up until that age had been football on a Saturday, rugby on a Sunday, and then it just became rugby, and football was forgotten. So I never looked back. And I think I made the good choice, to be honest. I loved every minute of rugby, and not quite sure the football crowd's quite me, so made the good choice, definitely.
Yeah, fair play. I have to say, I was with you. It was all primary school was all football. I was always last to be picked because I was shit.
Shit at rugby as well. There's no difference.
I wasn't that good at rugby, even though I did last 27 years in the front row. And how long did you last, son?
When you said last to be picked, you mean you were actually, hold on, mate, you were just going there, go to that team?
Yeah.
Actually.
He was the one everyone sighed when they realised he was going to be on their team. I was like, for fuck's sake, not Mulroy.
I am not joking. I was so crap at football. And I literally was down to the last 2. And then both of the team captains, you know, the PE teacher picks somebody as captain. Both of the two captains would look at each other and they'd go, "You can have him." or I would be the last one to be picked. And they'd go, "No, you have him on your side." "No, you have him on your side." And that was my football career at primary school.
You have to be more talented than me, mate. Can you imagine me playing football, honestly? Seriously. They always put me in the left wing, and I was a decent goalie, but I always used to sit all the way to the right-hand side because I couldn't.
You were a decent goalie? You were a decent goalie?
With proper gloves and everything, but the only thing I'd do is stand more to the right-hand side. I couldn't cover that area, and I'd dive. Honestly, I could
feel really bad now.
The only player on the pitch that can use both hands to get the ball, and you can only use one.
Oh, please, Tom, that just hurt me.
There's one player that can use their hands to touch the ball. Let's choose the.
Let's use one.
Can we just
Johnny's so confused. Johnny's like, what the fuck is going on?
Sam, just wave to Johnny with your right hand, mate.
I'm there. We don't need a demo. I'm there.
On the right hand side, mate. That's what we've got, an affliction.
This is what happens if you stay in Scotland for too long, Johnny. James, it's coming to you, man. I told you. Anyway, we did start off by talking about your DIY, and we've sort of digressed for about 12 minutes. So, Johnny, we're all painting our stairs, or the wife's making us change a light fitting. Just take a look at what Johnny's been doing. Johnny, well done, mate. He's even applauding himself. He's
applauding himself.
And the dad as well.
He's not dabbing, he's patting himself on the back. Jesus Christ, you really...
Do you know what? I thought he was about to do that. Chris once said to me, when dabbing was really, really popular
oh my God.
At his age, he said, Dad, can you do the dab? And I went, yeah. He went, go on. I went, no. Go on, Dad, as kids do. So I went, bang!
Right in the bollocks.
But down there. And he bent over double, and he went, what the fuck is that? What we used to call a dab in my day, son. What do you think it is? And he's going, it's this, Dad. You should always be careful what you wish for. So, Johnny, what are you seriously rebuilding that, or is it an extension you've got on?
Yeah, so you've given me a clap, lads. I didn't do any of that. It was a builder down the road that I've hired in. So this is great.
You should have taken that, man. You should have taken that.
Nah, mate, I'm not gonna lie. I've given it a lick of paint at the end. That's been my one job. I helped them carry some breeze blocks up, but that's it. A bit of breeze blocks and some painting. So none of it is me. But essentially, it was for there was a carport. We've closed it off. We're making it a gym and an office to try and stay fit in retirement. So I should have taken the credit, but I'm not going to.
Talking about retirement, you've been in France for a number of years because you've got citizenship now, haven't you?
Yeah, so that was something else cool that came through during confinement was we got our paperwork through for our passport. So that's a process. You come out, you can apply after 5 years. You go up to Bordeaux and you do, it's like a A-level test, but next level crazy. So about economics, culture, politics, their food, their geography, everything. So you go up and you get quizzed for about 2 hours. And if you get through it after submitting all of your paperwork, you get French citizenship. So that's us. We've been here 8 years. You start the process after 5, and we've just got the passport now. So there's a lot of French paperwork to get through, but just a really cool thing to have. It's nice to keep a European passport after Brexit off, obviously, and it means we keep our options open for
he went there.
political.
Do you know what?
Political.
I can't believe how hard it is to become French with that.
The interesting thing was learning about their history and learning about the war from their perspective. That was a mind blow.
When you talk about the war, you're talking about things like the Second World War, or are you talking further back in French history?
You go back and learn about even philosophers like Voltaire, things that I had no idea about growing up as a lad in Scotland, then the heroes that they had through their war, the war through their eyes, and their history about the revolution, how they flipped the country and turned around and gained their own independence. So all these little things that you didn't know about, you learn the history of another country, which I'd never really taken the time to do. So it's quite a cool process. It's quite cool prepping for the test, which I was shitting myself about, and getting to do it on the bus with other French boys. And a lot of them didn't have a clue. Like you speak to Brits about our history, and half the people on your team bus wouldn't have a clue. So it's the exact same over here. So it was actually really cool spending time with the academy boys in the bus, or the old boys, going through their history. It was very cool to do, and just really chuffed that we've got passports. And then it's a great thing for us and the family to open up a few extra doors and not get kicked out of the country yet. So
now you must be living that wonderful life where they pay you a salary after your retirement for a couple of years while you decide what you want to do. It's
called chômage, and it is wonderful. Whoever dreamt it up is a great man. Whoever's paying for it, or how they're paying for it. But that is it. So through your taxation, through your rugby career, or whatever job you do, you're a lawyer, you're an accountant, you're a chef, you're working in a bar, part of your taxes that come off in your payslip every month go into a side pot called chômage. So if you ever want to take a break from work, you can. So if you retire, or if you are forced to retire, or if you become redundant, you get a 2-year window where you get a certain amount of your salary capped, and you get it back, which is ridiculous, but it gives you that great buffer. That's one of the great things about finishing rugby in France, is that you've got a 2-year cushion. The scary thing for my mates now, finishing, like one of my best pals, Johnny Barkley, is finishing up with Edinburgh. And the scary thing for him now is he's off contract. He's got a mortgage in Edinburgh. The rugby market has collapsed. And then you've also got to go and find a job, complete recession, not even recession, it's a depression now. It's going to be depression. So that is the luxury about finishing in France, is that you have that 2-year buffer, but you have to use your time wisely, not just kick it back at the beach, but actually figure out what you want to do next. So that's what we're going to spend our next few months doing, exploring different options, having fun, and figuring out what we're going to do for a job long term.
You should take start a new career in renovations, mate.
Demolitions, more is it?
Now, you could say he could take a career in project managing construction, because that's what he's done. But actually, Johnny, you do some project management. It's one of the things you're looking at for the future, isn't it?
So I nearly ended up in Japan in December. I nearly signed for a team in Japan in December, but it fell through. And that was what caused me to announce retirement and stop in January, age 34. And since then, I've been really lucky from January, February, and a bit of March to fall into a few different things. So punditry, commentating during the Six Nations was great fun. Absolutely loved doing that. I worked with the Scottish Rugby commercial team back in Edinburgh, which was really cool to see how they operate. It was great fun. And a bit of leadership consultancy. So not so much project management, but consulting with exec teams. So going in, sitting down, getting through the problems in their companies, working out how to fix the humanistic errors. Because, sports teams and leadership are the same. At every company, you get humanistic errors wherever you go. So figuring out how they want to go as a strategy and helping them. So there's a few different things I fell into, which were great fun. But everything's obviously been stopped in its tracks by COVID, which has been the same for everyone. So it was great fun. I had a great few months. Looking forward to flights starting again. And back out there and having some fun in rugby and dabbling in some other things too.
Anybody who is listening who wants to look at Johnny and his experiences, please make sure you get in touch with meridianglobalmanagement.com, and we'll happily take a commission.
Good plug.
That transference is so easy because you've been in that high pressure boiling kettle scenario with teams, and most people in the world have never been in such a high pressure environment, and you can use those techniques to take it into industries. There's no better guys than people like Johnny, people like Joe Lejeal, and they will come and they will give an honest and frank opinion. You're going to join us again for the rumour mill, Johnny?
What's that? Is that another one after?
Yeah, so we go straight into another one. We talk a little bit more about you if you're with us, and then we're going to talk about rugby rumours that we've heard.
You're going to have to grab another beer, boys. Yeah, sounds good.
There's nothing wrong with that, mate.
Mate, do you want to be part of our 22? You can come on every week. Every single week, as long as you've got beer. Answer me a question. Does the Beer Supporters Club still have their own brand, own label wine?
So a good mate of mine is head of the social section, so I should know the answer to this. It's a guy called Federico Aramburu, who's an Argentinian boy who played for Argentina at the World Cup, played at Glasgow, played for Biarritz, played for Dax. He will be able to get me the answer to that question, but I mean, it's something they would do. They're quite bourgeois.
When I went over there when Biarritz spanked Wasps in 2000, and it must have been about 3. It can't be 4 because I think
it was 3 or 4.
Well, it can't be 4 because Wasps.
It can't be 4 because we won.
Trevor Leota scored the fucking try against Munster in 200004. I mean, how on earth that happened when Johnny's only scored 3 in his whole career?
Ooh, bastard!
It was funny because it was so hot and so sweaty that they got, it was the glue spray on your hands. And it was the first time the Wasps boys has used it. You've got people like Delalio, Shawsey, Worsley, everybody else. Alex Kings, he put far too much on, and he tried to kick the ball out of a hand, and he went to drop the ball onto his foot, and the ball got stuck to his hand, and he swung his foot in the air, and the ball was still stuck there, and he got absolutely snotted.
But did they have an issue with this? Like, with they're taking in like 2-litre bottles of beer and stuff, but they had an issue with this taking in bottle caps.
I'll talk to you about that on part 3.
Yeah.
So we're just going to take a quick break now. Make sure that Johnny's got a fresh glass of beer from his local craft beer shop. We'll be back right after this short break.
When you need clear and concise match official communication systems, look no further than the brand new AxiWe AT350.
Radios are always useful, they always help us, especially AxiWes, where all 3 of us can be open at any time and we can have open communication.
Available now from refcomsglobal.net. Investing profits into match official development worldwide.
Welcome back to part 3 of the 22 Dropouts. Yes, we are a YouTube show. Yes, we are a podcast. And yes, we are available from wherever you get them from, Christopher. But don't forget, when you're on your way to work, now that lockdown is easing, except for those weirdos in Scotland, you can listen to us in the car on the way to work. And don't forget, coming soon, we have the special outtake show coming to YouTube. Make sure you have a look at that. And don't forget to look at our special show that we did recently with the wonderful Jill Douglas about the Doddy Weir Foundation. Now, Doddy's 50th birthday, it's about a month away. Have a look. My name, then the figure 5, doddy.co.uk. See what they're doing. A lot of their work has had to be curtailed in terms of fundraising because of the lockdown. But please, please, please do go and have a look. Do support them in any way you can. And don't forget to look out for our special birthday treat for Doddy coming in July. Before the break, we were talking about Biarritz with Johnny. And there's a few of us that have fond memories. It is a wonderful part of the world to live, isn't it, Johnny?
Yeah, special. I try and explain it as California, but in France. As close as you're going to get to California, but not that far away. The French people you have to deal with. I'm not one of them. But it's
sure you want to stay there now?
Yeah, 100%. It's a special part of the world. Beautiful scenery, good food, good wine. It's a great place to play rugby as well. They absolutely love it down here. So it's a great part of the world.
And you can walk to the rugby ground from a hotel by the beach in about 15 minutes.
The thing is, there's about 6 grounds. So you've got Biarritz and Bayonne, which are your 2 famous ones, but you've got Saint-Jean-de-Luz, Tyros, you've got Anglet, you've got lots of little ones in Division 2 and Federal 1. And they're just for it. They absolutely love it. So it's a great part of the world to play your rugby or to come and tour as well. You see a lot of touring sides coming here because the rugby's good and there's a good party afterwards. It's a great, great spot.
That sounds like a good week away for rugby referees to me. No matter who you are or where you're from, make sure you get in touch with us at Sevens.
Next Sevens tournament is being organised in Biarritz.
And you know what? We didn't book tickets with all the supporters, the Wasp supporters who were in the stand that's above the changing rooms. We were in the other stand with all the Biarritz fans.
He's just been bombed again.
Who? Oh, man. Every week, although you've missed, I turned the camera. Claire's been in 3 times because I've not done the weeding in the front garden. And each time she's come through with a bucket full of weeds, the doors have been slammed louder every single time. So we went to the supermarket and we bought crates and crates and crates of beer. And then we bought crates and crates of 2 little bottles of water, which we emptied into the bath in the hotel room, and then stood there for the next 2 hours, filling all of these bottles up with beer, carrying them in rucksacks. I think everybody had 6 2-litre bottles until we got there. And Christopher, if he remembers one thing from Biarritz on tour as a 3-year-old, he remembers this.
I remember one thing. That one thing is when we got to the ground, they were fine with the amount of beer we were bringing in. What they weren't fine with was the fact that there were bottle caps on top of the 2-litre bottle. So we're having to pour out all these bottles and handing them out to French people just like, beer, take beer off us, we need to take beer, more beer.
The funny thing was, eventually they allowed us to take the bottles in, but they wouldn't allow us to take the plastic tops in because we might throw them. It hurts more when you get hit with 2 litres of beer than when you get hit with a bottle top. So we walk into the stand amongst all the Biarritz fans carrying open bottles of beer. There's no way that's going to last us. So we just gave them away to everybody who was around. The fans there, the French fans, had such a wonderful time. We had a great time with them. And we've got people trying to give us this and that. And I got a polo shirt from the Wasp Supporters Club. Cost me probably about 10 quid. This guy takes off a Pierre Cardin corduroy half-zip jumper with the Biarritz Olympic logo and wants to swap. It's like, mate, that costs about 110 euros and mine costs about 12. Yeah, okay, that's a good deal. I'll do that. We'll swap. And then we went for dinner. They got this great big marquee. Hundreds of people were there having a post-match dinner, supporters from both sides, and it was a bit late to the point that the Biarritz fans had got a little marching brass band and they marched up and down the tables. It turned into the day of the rising sun because people started to draw on their napkins and turn them into bandanas. That's a bandana, not an Antonio Banderas, Sam. Look at part 1 of the show if you've not already seen it. And they put them around the head. And all of a sudden, a food fight ensued with the bread rolls. Bread rolls going everywhere. We have never had such a fabulous time. And then when all the bread rolls had been picked up by the waitresses who were very annoyed with us, we all sat down and had a great night. And that's what rugby is like over in Basque Country. Anyway, we've got a few questions for you, Johnny. Sam, what have you got?
Right, so who's the biggest prankster you've ever known, and what's the prank that they've done?
You got Johnny Barkley loves a scare cat, which is on Instagram getting for hog. We had a really rancid bloke called Mikey DeMarco. He was a sex addict in Montpellier. He was a really but his thing was he wouldn't wash, and then he would go and whap his willy around the boys' sunglasses in summer. So he'd like,
mate.
And just in case the viewers weren't listening, what was his name?
Mikey DeMarco. He's a great guy. He's hilarious. But I can remember, so I did 1 year at Montpellier with Fabien Galtier and Mario Ledesma as my coaches. Jim Hamilton arrived in my second year. Big Jim. Or the Grand Sifflet, the big skinny whistle, as they called him in France. And I can remember Jim pissing himself as I, twitching with my sunglasses, not quite understanding what flavour of cheese it was I was smelling. It was Big Mikey. There you go.
You can definitely come on every week, honest. Johnny. You're definitely there every week. James.
That's brilliant.
James, what have you got?
When you talk about future career, have you not thought about going into broadcasting, as in the family trade?
Yeah, so I have. That's one of the aspects that I started during the Six Nations. So I did commentary with 5 Live for the Calcutta Cup game. They'd said before I had a face for radio, so I stuck to radio.
BBC, have you looked at our screens? We've all got face for radio, but we don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I fit in well. This is great. So I did BBC 5 Live. BBC Radio Scotland for Scotland France. Was over in Wales and then had to do a U-turn. The last game cancelled for Scotland Wales. The last game in Cardiff. And also done a few games now with T Sport in the Champions Cup. Done a couple of games for Canal Plus in English and in French, which has been good fun. So yeah, I've really enjoyed dabbling in it. Punditry is great fun because it's like you're with your mates at the pub watching a game, getting to talk about it. And that's the thing. We've done it since we were 6-7 years old. And if someone's going to ask you, they're going to pay you to go and do it, then absolutely you're not going to say no. So it's been great fun. Something I've always enjoyed is enjoying the technicalities of the game. So yeah, absolutely love to get into more of it because it's been fun.
How did you, Johnny, sort of you saying about there, obviously doing the French stuff as well. How did you how was it adapting to life in France and sort of learning the language and stuff like that? How did you find all of that?
It was a great challenge. So I luckily did my higher French which is the equivalent of like AS level in England. But didn't do very well in it, like passed, but didn't get an A or anything, so don't worry. And I got there, and one of my first games, my standoff was Francois Tranduc, the French standoff. Awesome guy, looked after us really well. Our 12 at the time was Sean Happy, who was for England in Bath, and then came over to Montpellier when I came over. And the very first game we played together, Francois turned to both of us and was like, Chandel. And I was standing to Chantain, and I was like, that's rude, mate. You can't even pronounce your name. Like, what a tosser, kind of thing. What I didn't understand was Chandel means up and under. And I was like, oh, right. So we both stuffed it, stood back, and then we got bollocked in the video meeting in our first game because we hadn't chased. And I was like, if I'm going to do this properly, understand firstly the calls in French, and then integrate into culture, make French mates, and actually have a good life. I'm going to have to learn French. So that was it. That was the first game. And after that, I realised I had to sit with Frenchies at every meal. So there's always like a foreign table and French. And I was with the French kids every meal. I'd sit with the academy boys. I'd go and eat with them on my days off. I was like, I have to learn. If I'm going to be good and understand what's happening on the pitch and make friends and buy into it on a sort of cultural level, I'm going to have to learn. So it was really tough. Like the first 3, 4, 5 months, somebody says something in French, you sort of click, but it takes you 10 seconds to understand. Then you think in English what you want to reply, you translate it. Yeah. By that time, he's always had 3 coffees. This guy's a knob and done. But slowly, your reaction time comes down. The more time you're in the language, it comes down. And after about 6 months, like I was dreaming in French. It was crazy. I had my Scottish mates came over for a holiday in about October time, and by that time, I was already dreaming and in my dream imagining all my mates speaking French, but they couldn't speak French. So after six months, because you've had it every single day, you sort of start to think about it and think in that language. So it's actually really cool. It only comes just from living here and working hard at it. So it was tough at the start, mate, but it's been great fun and a great journey.
So what's the best phrase you know in French that you would like to share with the millions of viewers tonight?
My kids love one that they learned in their, I didn't know until they told me it. It's called caca boudin, which means dog shit black pudding. And they come home.
Just say that again slowly, because I think for a change, everybody is going to learn a French phrase just for once in their life.
That's it. So caca, again, caca, you get caca, but caca boudin. And boudin is the French way of saying black pudding. So all the kids, they come home, it's sort of nonsensical thing that kids say. My kids came home to like, Dad, that's caca boudin. Like, what are you talking about? Age 4. And I thought that was awesome. The fact that they come home with these little colloquial phrases and they can come home and chuck that, you have no idea what they're saying. It's a little quirk of French language from young kids. So I love that one. It's great.
I've obviously, a bit of research because you're coming on, had a look at your Instagram and saw your personalised FIFA card. I was just wondering how happy you were with the stats that you got given.
Right, mate, you have to give me back the stats.
So you got 80 pace, 80 pace, 88 carrying, 84 passing, 84 handling, 90 tackling, and 90 physical.
Well, that's strong. That's strong game. I've just that was
a solid card.
He does personalised cards for people, and he sent me one when I was back in Scotland, which I thought was really cool because, like, growing up, you see top trumps and kids are kids. I'm still a kid, and you're right. I've pulled it up on mine as well. I'm not sure if you can see, but that's it. He did like a personalised card, which I thought was awesome.
But for the older generation, Johnny, can I just ask what the fuck
What's a FIFA card? What's a FIFA card?
Well, for me, mate, I'm the same. So it was top trumps. So you've played top trumps, surely. You're not.
Yeah. With fire engines, though, mate. If you've made top trumps, you're my hero. It's as simple as that. If there was a top trump game about rugby, in fact, have they done a top trump rugby? Because if not, I've got a company that can license that.
So I've got something else that I thought was even cooler, which they don't do in the UK, but they do in France, which is, Panini, like you could get back in the day, you'd collect
Still
Euro 96 or World Cup.
That's
you get
when
your
I
sticker
thought
card.
I might be able to play football. Yeah. Thanks.
Right. So in France, they still have Panini, but for the top 14 rugby teams, which they don't have in the UK for rugby teams. And the day that I got my Panini photo, I was like, right, I've made it. Like, I don't care about playing for national teams. I was like, I've got a Panini sticker card.
Mate, I tell you what.
Yeah.
We will take all our rugby memorabilia down from around our houses if we can.
Yes.
Awesome.
quality.
Like, that's cool. That's next level.
That is pretty cool.
Mate, I want a signed copy of that on my wall.
Aye.
That's how much I love you now.
I agree. Yeah.
You need to send that to us with a signature on somehow. Send it to us all, and one day we're going to put that up in the frame behind every one of us on the show.
I've got a picture wall, so it can just go up there. It's fine.
Yeah, that's shit though.
I think
It is shit, to be fair.
Take it, give it a signature, put it to the 22 dropouts.
Magic.
Definitely. And we're going to have it. That's something we will definitely do. Right, so we are, how long have we got, guys, of this one?
I need another nervous week.
Oh, you promised you were going to last.
Hang on.
I thought I could last, but I couldn't. I'm going to mute myself this time.
Oh, dear.
So we would normally take a quick break before the rumour mill, but because he's gone for a nervous wee this week, because he's got a bladder about that big, we're now going to go to Chris. Here he is. Chris, introduce the rumour mill.
He can't because he's muted.
No, I like that introduction. Well done. Anyway, Johnny. He's got no idea what the fuck we've just done, but he will do when the show comes out.
To be fair, I'm not glad he muted himself when he went for a wee.
I can still hear you from the toilet, so I know exactly what you've done.
Yeah.
Johnny, it's time for something that we call the rumour mill. As you can tell, it's a mill, and it's all about rumours. We always go to our guest first, put them on the spot, and tell us, what have you heard in and around rugby that other people may not have done?
Oh, mate, it's kind of boring, to be honest. It's not a really, really juicy rumour, but the one that I think that's going to be best is the switching around global calendar. So the fact that they might do away with summer tests and compress that into an October-November championship, which would actually have something meaningful like a Nations Cup and actually give players something to play for. Because one of the strangest things about November tests and June, July tests as a player is you're going away, you don't really know if it's development or if it's the first team, or if they actually gave something tangible and something proper to play for, it'd make it much more interesting. So I think that's one of the cool things about COVID is it's churned up a lot of crap around the actual discussion around what we could change, what we could make better. No idea if we can make everyone align, but one of the great things that could come out of it would be a decent tournament to be played with away stints. We could go to the Southern Hemisphere in October or November and get some decent weather, and then bring them back, challenge them in the British Isles when it pisses it down in November. So that could be quite cool.
Johnny, doesn't it do that all the time in Scotland, regardless of what month we're in?
I don't know, mate. I live in Beirut.
Hey!
Very happy for it.
And that's the best answer we've had on this show yet. So, what do you make then of the stories that are coming out this week? That some of the Premiership clubs now have come out and said, absolutely no way are we going to vote for that.
Well, the stakeholders at the end of the day, but I don't see what the huge issue is for them. I mean, yes, they're going to lose players for an extra 4 weeks, but you're going to get them back at the other end. It's also, I think, better for Premiership clubs to have players around when the weather's better and the product on show in the UK is better. Therefore, if you can get rid of your players in October, November, when it's absolutely pissing it down wet, you can then put on a decent spectacle at your club in March, April, May, June. So, I mean, it's just a case of compressing the 3 windows to 2. That's all it is from a World Rugby perspective. I think it makes sense from somebody that's played in those end-of-year tours and the winter tours. They don't mean much, although playing for your country is amazing. It would be extra cool if you could have a proper tournament with something to play for and win. It would also mean you could get more teams involved and play at a greater depth with different countries. So in terms of a player and what I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great to get away in November and get that change of scenery. It would also you know, we forgot when they come over to us in November, it's the end of the season, they're all exhausted and they got nothing to play for. When we go away at June, July, it's the same. The boys that done the Premiership or the top 14, they're exhausted. Whereas if you could actually change it and make something to play for, or stick a carrot in front of the players, it'd make it more exciting, and I think it'd be more valuable as a tournament. So yes, the Premiership clubs might see in some way they're going to lose out in short term, but I think if you're thinking more on a global scale, the players are winners, and actually giving the fans really a pretty cool tournament and something to be interested in.
See, the thing is, just very quickly, you mentioned that, like, you know, Britain plays their good rugby in the better weather in like May and June, and the crapper rugby in October and September and November. If your name's Leicester Tigers, you play shit rugby all year round.
Oh!
You know, like...
Johnny, you've never ever been offered a contract at Leicester, have you?
3 times.
3 times, and thrice he said no. That's biblical, mate.
Point
That's
proved.
biblical.
Point proved.
If they played those internationals, a bit like they did with obviously the World Cup this year, be a great opportunity for the Prem Cup, the old Anglo-Welsh, the old LV Cup to really get a boost, because it hasn't really been the development cup that it was always meant to be, and it used to be in recent seasons, because there's been nothing to compete with. Stick the first load of rounds in that international window, and if we've still got the Six Nations and stuff later on, stick the second lot of rounds in the Six Nations, and it gives that other opportunity of rugby. Get cheaper tickets, get more people into the stadiums. Those that can't go and watch the internationals, get the young lads out playing from the academy and make it a real big spectacle. I think that could really work.
To interject, your point has become even more pertinent with what's happened over the last 3 months. So budgets are going to be absolutely slashed. Emphasis is going to be absolutely on youth. And that is one other way to get a vehicle to get people involved. So it's going to be weighted way more towards academies. The exact same thing is happening in France. So the GIF rules, which is our equivalent of EQP, English Qualified Player, we have GIF, is massive. So the squeeze on foreign players is going. In England, you've got already strict EQPs, got young English kids coming through, which is what you need, absolutely. But now your salary cap's coming down. You're going to have to develop more and more English kids to churn out and make that first team. So it's a great opportunity. Absolutely, I agree.
I'm looking forward to the global calendar coming together, and you know, I hope it does. But one of the things, so you know, the summer tests where you get, you know, Scotland and all that go away and they play, maybe Fiji or an Argentina or whatever. I mean, that's when you start getting the new guys that are coming through. That's when they get their chance to come out and play. So if you go and do this global calendar thing, what's going to happen to that opportunity for them? I mean, you know, if it's going to be more of a competitive based, you know, for some sort of silverware or whatever, then is that opportunity lost for them, or is there going to be another avenue for them? That's my
no. So I think Scotland's probably the worst example of that. So we've got the smallest player pool, and young people get pushed through super early. Like I got my first cap when I was 20. Yeah. There's no other choice. You have to push through Scottish people really early. Again, to be chucked in and play a test in Argentina or away with nothing really to play for, I think the added pressure of playing for a win and doing something extra special makes it all that much sweeter. So I got my first cap against Romania in November in front of 12,000 people at Murrayfield. I kind of throw away, special to me, but in terms of a spectacle and what you were playing for, there was nothing really around, even though it meant the world to me. Whereas if you could add something to that, I think it could make it much, much greater for the game, because ultimately that's what we're trying to grow, is as much as, yes, 1 or 2 youths, but you're trying to grow the game. So if you're trying to spread a competition across 10, 12, 15, 20 teams, which could evolve over a period of years, it's great. Because that's it. We go away, and yes, we do play tests against Fiji once every 10 years. This year was meant to be the first time in New Zealand for 10 years. Yeah. Hasn't happened for a long time. If you could make some, you know, progressive, proper tournament together and give it something to win, I think it'd be awesome for the game. And also commercially, for people coming into it, it's something to chuck money behind. If Scotland has a tour away to Argentina and play 2 games, it's a hard sell. Whereas if you say, look, this is a tournament with 14, 15, 16 of the world's best teams happening every year at this time of the year, it's huge. It's ultimately a mini World Cup every year. A Nations Cup, which they already have in football, it's the same idea. So I think commercially it'd be huge as well for the companies and the nations, which filters down into grassroots and grows our game. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Do you not think it's time that the unions brought back the B-sides? And that's where your youngsters could come through.
100%. I totally agree with that.
Saxons.
One of the things I was going to suggest is, do you remember back, I mean, I'm going back now to early 2000s.
I remember going back on Tuesday night, Monday nights at Henley.
Monday night.
We used to go every week to a proper A-League where you got to see the youth coming through. You got to see the academy players. It's still fantastic rugby, and crowds show out to that, and they do go and watch it. And it's such a good opportunity for the youth players to get experience with some of the older players, some of the more professional players, to build that relationship and get the game going for them in that sort of more professional way. I think that the A-League needs to come back 100%.
So, James, your question was about B internationals, right? So international games.
Yeah, absolutely, because that's the route that we used to go. I mean, many years ago, I toured New Zealand, shadowing an England B side. I was lucky enough to play 3 games during that period, midweek games. That B setup, actually, that's where a lot of the guys cut their teeth. And when they stepped up to the first team, that's when you could say, yeah, you've made it, you've done it. And that's going to give you the confidence to step up into. I mean, Scotland have been really lucky in recent times because you've had Finn Russell, you've got Hoggy at fullback, you've had Greg at scrum half. But those guys have been pushed in. Scotland has gone down the Super 6 route below Glasgow and Edinburgh. I'm not convinced that that's going to be the right thing in the long term.
See, I disagree. So, of my experience coming through Scottish rugby as it was and as it has been for the past 50 years, my biggest gripe was it's a really small country, but there's a little bottleneck. So there's only space for 60 professional players. That's it. So when you come through the under-18 setup and you get either picked up or you don't, that's it. There's no cutoff. There's nowhere else to go. You go to club rugby, you go to university, you start drinking. That's essentially what happens. So all of my mates that I played with pathways of club rugby, school rugby, and the under-18 pathway, if you got picked up for the contract, purely on one person's point of view, because one person runs the academy, if you don't make that one person's grade, you're lost to rugby. I would argue that Super 6, what it actually offers, is a semi-pro level for people to come through and keep playing while they have a job or another profession. We've been really lucky also to have Scotland Day, which has been running for a long time, Saxons, which was awesome. And yeah, almost like a B competition, but again, commercially viable would be great. Yeah. I'm going to say I'm on 11%. So if I ditch you, it's been lovely.
Do his embarrassing moment first then. Do his embarrassing moment first then.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll now, Johnny. We know that your embarrassing moment tonight is the fact that you've not charged your mobile and your battery is dying. No, I've heard that before. I'll be honest with you.
He's not on his mobile.
So before, just in case,
you get it wrong.
Mugged you off there, so
just in case your battery does die on us, before we've asked you the crucial question, which I suspect is what you're trying to avoid. He's gone!
No, he's there!
Oh, mate!
That was the 10% warning. So I'm all good. 10%
more. You properly did me then, mate, and all respect for that. So before you disappear on your 10%, and one of the questions we were going to ask you last of all, which we're bringing forward just for you, is tell us about your most embarrassing moment in rugby.
Probably got 3. First one, playing for Glasgow. All 3 playing for Glasgow, actually. First one being fully exposed, full frontal to the crowd. That was my first one. It was good fun.
Are you sure you want to share this with the world?
Oh no, no cameras. It's so long ago that no cameras have taken any snaps, but I can assure you it was very, very cold that night. Second one would be again with Glasgow and kicking. So our kicker Dan Parks at the time had to go off with cramp, and they asked me to convert and take the conversion. We'd scored a try in the game. Basically, if I got the conversion, Ulster would not qualify for the for the knockout stages. It was right in the middle, in front of the post, 22 out, and I missed it. They went on to qualify and they won the league that year.
And for those who would have missed that as well.
Yeah, and then my third one would be.
Just me then.
Yeah, it happens. And the third one would be against Toulouse. Again, this is going back to Firhill, which was like a tin stadium we played at Glasgow. We're playing the Champions Cup against Toulouse. Dan Parks chucked the ball into the field and said, use Johnny. I thought he meant to kick the ball out. Actually, 80 minutes was up and that was the end of the game. So absolutely heckled by Glaswegians for a good 10, 15 minutes after the game. So 3 stings with Glasgow.
No wonder you left.
These things happen. You live in. It happens to everybody, sadly. Those are my 3.
Yeah. That was about my every week playing rugby, to be fair. At least you only had 3 of those in your entire career. That was every week for me. Look, Johnny, just in case you do disappear and we suddenly get a little black square, it's been an absolute privilege and you're always, always welcome. I know that you've got 2 young children and a wife who's expecting, and you probably won't be allowed to come and join us for just a 20-minute chat, as you probably told your wife. Yeah, you see what I mean? You said, I'll be 20 minutes, sweetheart, half an hour tops. And he's been on for an hour, but about 8 minutes by the time we edit this. But you're always welcome to come back on. It's been an absolute privilege. And just in case we do miss you, good night. But we're hoping we're not, because we're going to whiz through this. We're going to whiz through the rest of our rumour mill. Chris, talk to us about Ashley Johnson.
So,
next one.
I do apologise. I went to change the camera angle and missed the button and pressed the mute, which is what I should have done about 19 and a half years ago.
Probably.
Carry on, Chris.
Anyway, unfortunately, as we know, as a Wasp fan, it deeply saddens me to say that Ashley Johnson is leaving Wasps. He's been an absolute unit. He's been there since 2012, nearly 200 appearances, for the club. But he is leaving. But rumour has it that he will be moving on to Sale Sharks to replace Rob Webber, who is going to Championship side Jersey.
Rob Webber?
Rob Webber. That's
Rob
the
Webber. Okay, that's interesting. Sam? Dan Carter?
Yeah, so, close sources with TV footage, as you've seen from the weekend there, that Dan Carter hasn't signed a playing contract, but he's signed actually a water boy contract. And, being the fact that they only won by 10 points, they were probably having a bit of a laugh and saying maybe we were on the pitch, we could have won by 50. So, yeah.
Right. James, your rumour.
I have
and we are only limited by Johnny Beattie's battery life.
Right, so I have 2. I have 2. One, former Saints player and current Leicester player, Kyle Eastman, is moving to Sale Sharks.
He's a former Wasps player as well.
And how many people are going to Sale this year?
And
Johnny, are you going to Sale this year?
No, mate.
not even for a guest appearance.
Not for dimes, never.
Oh, you're going to hear first.
And Mike Blair is going to join Breve
as
coach.
Let's message him.
Okay, you I've literally silenced the panel.
Get it from the horse's mouth.
Hey, boys. Oh, seriously, Mike Blair's a British Lion. He's a top
brilliant player.
He's got 80 caps for Scotland. He toured South Africa with the Lions in 2009.
Yeah.
That's why I don't remember him.
You're too young, Chris, but he's a proper. He was a proper player. One of the best 9s I ever played.
Right, let's go for another one. Let's do a link. Tom, Michael Checker.
Yes, yeah. So it's the never-ending story of who's going to take over at Gloucester. So Checker's the latest of those coaches that are sort of floating around the rugby landscape to be linked with the head coach role. But you seem to see how they reshape it. Obviously, the DOR's gone now as well, so how they'll reshape the whole rugby landscape at Gloucester will be very interesting, because obviously lots of clubs have started going towards the DOR being sort of in the background and above, and the head coach taking the lead. Whereas obviously rugby was always famed for having a director of rugby that took charge of everything, and they were the face. So it'll be interesting to see whether Gloucester think that actually maybe that doesn't work. Maybe they need to look at something new and tailor it to whoever comes in place. They are saying that they're considering all the candidates and taking their time during lockdown to have a real good think.
Oh, he's died. He died.
Oh, he has died.
No, he's still here. He's still here. That was the 5%.
He's died.
5%. Let's wrap it up. Wrap it up. That's the 5%. Wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. Okay, listen. My rumour is that Ealing have signed yet another. Ealing Championship Club have signed yet another Premiership player. This time it is Dean Hammond, the winger from Worcester Warriors.
I am in shock.
Mike I don't give a shit about
actually come with a rumour.
rumour.
Mike's actually come with a rumour. What's going on?
Now we know. Johnny BT, it has been an absolute pleasure to ruin the last 63% of your battery life tonight. Johnny, you are an absolute star. We love you to bits. You've been wonderful tonight. And if you do disappear, come back anytime. We love you, and we would really welcome you back.
100%.
Before I do the link out to all the other things, we're all going to say goodbye to Johnny, just in case he doesn't last. So, Johnny BT, from us to you, good night. You've been a brilliant guest.
Cool. Thank you very much for having me, boys.
Thank
Great
you.
fun.
Cheers,
Johnny.
That's really good.
See you sometime soon. Cheers, boys.
Yeah, you can press the end button now and go charge your phone up.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, Johnny.
Cheers.
And while we all watch Johnny's thumb trying to press the hang up button, we're going to say goodnight to you as well. It's been a pleasure being with you. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I'm sure all of the guys here hope you enjoyed the show. And we'll see you again next week when we'll have another very special guest. In the meantime, please make sure that you have a look at our back catalogue. Please make sure that when you're doing the DIY, because we've all been doing it, not quite as much as Johnny seemed to, but then prove that he hasn't. All he's done is thrown the paintbrush around. Take care, stay well, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Good night.